for tuning in to Burn the Talking Points. I'm Joe Francavilla, your Deputy Executive Director here at the Maryland Democratic Party. Normally, we release these on Thursday, which, if you're listening today, that's what it is. But we record on Tuesday, so if there's breaking news on Wednesday or Thursday, we don't have a chance to talk about it. So we wanted to re-record just the top here. You're going to see my conversation with Congresswoman Sarah Elfreth right after this. But the big news here in Maryland is Senate, House, and the governor just released a budget framework, which is, obviously huge news. But with all the chaos that's going on in Washington with the Trump administration just destroying the Maryland economy, the governor, the Senate president, and the speaker needed to respond. And they put forward this budget framework, which is responsible and it looks out for the middle class, unlike the Trump administration, who is just trying to do tax breaks for billionaires. So just a few highlights. One, 94% of Marylanders will see either a tax cut or no change at all, which is huge for the middle class. We're also seeing an additional $500 million in cuts on top of the cuts that have already been announced, which just shows we have leaders who are dedicated to making difficult choices. Like the governor said in his press conference, Larry Hogan's the one that got us here, but the governor, the speaker, and the Senate president are the ones committed to getting us out. And they have set up a budget that has long-term sustainability for the state. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to say over the next couple of weeks, and we're going to talk to some of the folks that, helped make decisions around this budget. But really, really big news that Democrats here in Maryland are looking out for the middle class and have put forward this really responsible budget, as opposed to Donald Trump, who, chaos, corruption, and looking out for billionaires. We could not be more excited to have Congresswoman Sarah Elfreth, which is exciting to say. We met when you were Senator Sarah Elfreth in the State House doing big things. Yeah. Now you are Congresswoman Sarah Elfreth, taking on the Trump administration, working with your colleagues to do big things, which I know we're going to get into. Yeah. But thank you for being here at an incredibly weird time.
Thank you for having me. If I can do a quick anecdote about back in the day.
Please.
So I was a freshman state senator. You were doing big things on behalf of Blueprint with Strong Schools Maryland. And we used to let you leave your coat in our office.
That is true.
Days.
That is true. You were my coat check for a while, and then I would have to sneak back and get it and then scurry home. So I appreciate you letting me keep my coat
Of course, anytime.
So I want to start just with the 30,000 foot, which we talked to a lot of our guests about, because we're in a really weird moment as a country. Like, how are you viewing the moment we're in, both as a state, but also a country and a party, just all of it?
Yeah, I think it's first of all, we need to level set with everybody that these are unprecedented times, and to pretend like these are normal times is doing a disservice to my constituents, to the body I serve in. So first of all, saying this President Trump is using extraordinary powers, right? Learned a lot from his first term, and this is not Trump one. This is different. And then there's also dynamics within Congress that are different than Trump one. We had a lot of reasonable Republicans last time, but folks don't remember. And I got this straight from Jamie Raskin. It took years to bring some folks over, right? It wasn't right away. And then another issue is and I'm going to say this every day, a lot of those reasonable Republicans have quit. They were getting so many death threats that they're no longer in Congress. And I don't want to ever normalize that, because that's pretty terrifying. And it's just a weird environment to be in right now, but also it makes me super resolute every day to keep fighting for my district.
Yes, I mean, right before you came in, we actually got a call to our office that was, how many Soros-funded judges are you on the payroll, Democrats? You should deport yourself. It's ugly. And if it's coming to a state party office in Maryland, I know it's coming to your office. I know it's coming to offices all around, and it's completely unacceptable. But it seems to be normalized and almost cheered on by the White House.
A friend of mine who I can't say his name, on staff, a staff person, a friend of Trump who has been invited to the White House, was at inauguration, tweeted that he should receive capital punishment for his work in Congress. We're talking about a staff person who's not elected. I mean, it's just, these are unprecedented, and it's not okay for us to pretend like they're normal. And we have to keep bringing light to the fact that this is crazy.
Yeah. So I want to actually dive into your work in Congress then, because we are in unprecedented times, but we still have to move things through a process that the process is broken, both it's been broken for years and years. It was broken before Donald Trump got there. It is now like there's not a reasonable Republican. But one thing I think the voters really liked about you, something that you did in Annapolis, is like you were able to bring folks along in a way that not a lot of people can do, whether you call it bipartisanship, whether you call it bridge building, whatever it might be. Can you talk a little bit about how you're viewing your role as like bipartisanship, especially in an era where like, you know, the base is like, talk to a Republican, I'm out.
Yeah, it's a complicated balance, right? Because I totally understand our base wants me to fight every single day, wants me to get thrown out of the joint address to Congress. I'm looking at this, I have two goals, and like I'm a goal-oriented person. One, win a majority in 26. Like that is the ball game, is to win that majority in 26. So how do I bring along the 1/3 of the American voting public who did not participate in November, who did not feel heard or represented or seen enough to even vote? How do I bring them along and engage them in the next midterm so that Democrats can take that majority? And then the second piece of it is, you know, I don't have the luxury representing a congressional district within the DMV region. We are disproportionately impacted by the White House's executive orders and firings. I have 44,000 federal employees in my district, Joe. So like, I don't have the luxury of saying, I'm gonna fight the White House every day from the minority and get nothing done. I still have to look out for, and I refer to it, sorry to be graphic, but like stop the bleeding in my district, which means I gotta find Republican allies, because I can't get a bill to be heard in committee, can't get that bill out of committee to the floor, can't get that bill passed on the House floor without 3 of my Republican colleagues. And I know that's not something people want to hear, that reality of what it means to be in the minority, but that's the hard truth and the hard truth of my job. And so, yeah, I filed my first bill last week, first bipartisan bill that addresses some of the DOJ cuts in the entirety of Congress. I got 3 Republicans on it. I'm going to work the aisle. I work the aisle every day. I'm going to continue to do that because I have too many constituents whose lives are at stake, livelihoods are at stake. I have to try, and maybe I won't be successful, but it's my obligation to try.
So it almost sounds like too, there when it comes to people's livelihoods and life, you have to find a way to care for people.
Right.
Like what do they say? Like even if you don't care about politics, politics cares about you. Yeah. These are people who are just going to work every day, going to their kids' soccer game, tennis match, and like coming home trying to make dinner. Like they need someone to try everything possible, and like. But it also sounds like when there are places where you cannot compromise,
absolutely,
you will, you know, if you have to lay down in front of the truck, you'll lay down in front of the Cybertruck.
Yeah, and that's the balance. And if I can get a message out to folks listening at home, it's really the minority is a dark, difficult place, but it's also my job to navigate it on behalf of my constituents. And so folks who want me to fight every day, I hear you, I get it. I am fighting wherever I can. I also have this deep obligation to protect my constituents wherever I can and however I can.
So let's talk a little bit about hopefully you passing bills in a 2026 Congress because Democrats have the majority. How do we get there?
How do we get there? It's winning back the hearts, minds, and confidence of the 1/3 of the American people who didn't vote. And those, I hate to be blunt here, but like our base is going to vote with us. And you're a field guy. I'm a field person. Like our 1s and 2s are always going to vote. We got to focus on those 3s. 3s because they don't feel confident in the election, confident in the party. 3s who just like too busy to vote, need lots of reminders. I got to focus on how do I bring people. We're a big tent party. That's what we're so proud of. How do we bring more people into that tent and not alienate or continue to divide? And you know, Tom Perez is a good friend. We used to have a joke when he was running for governor that just like doctors have the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm, politicians need to have a similar oath of do not divide. And it's so easy to divide. And we all know that fear is probably the most motivating factor in an election. And it's easy to like divide people and scare people and play on those angers and fears. But that's how we got here. And it's not something I'm going to participate in. So how do I build those bridges? How do I like sincerely listen to people who feel left out? And then how do I try to reflect our agenda and our messaging to help bring those people back into the fold?
Yeah, I struggle with this a lot too. I mean, obviously like Twitter is not real life, but there's real life sentiments that are going on Twitter. I mean, we can talk about the CR. Obviously the House did what the base wanted, the Senate did not. Our senators here in Maryland obviously did what
Right.
folks are calling for. But like, I guess I just struggle with this concept of, we have to be a big tent, but at some point, does the tent get so wide that the folks who have always voted for us feel like they're also not being heard?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer is.
I don't know what the answer and it is a balance, but I know what the answer isn't, which is like being apathetic and staying at home and then complaining that the Democrats aren't doing enough when we didn't win the majority in the two chambers of Congress. We didn't win the majority in the presidency. And so this is, again, it's not the reality that when people yell at me, like, you got to impeach the president, you have to personally arrest Elon Musk. I get it. Like, I'm losing sleep. These are really difficult days for me. But I also have to, I have constraints with my job by the Constitution, but also by the rules of the House. And so if I start getting thrown out of the chamber I was duly elected to serve in, I could lose my committee assignment. I could lose the voice for my constituents. I have to figure out how to do both, walk and chew gum at the same time, keep people engaged with the party, but also make sure that we are bringing in more people to that party so we can win elections. The only thing that matters is winning. Mm-hmm. And we have to stay focused on that.
So we're going to play a game in a second, but I want to ask one more question of you with this, this idea that winning is paramount. And I completely agree. As a partisan hack, you have to win. You don't get to do anything with power if you don't win.
Right.
But early in January, there was this call to do something. And right or wrong, I mean, I actually sit in the spot and around between January 20th and February 1st, 2nd, 3rd, do something. I wasn't seeing what I wanted my leaders to do. And I was part of that. Now I'm seeing a lot of do something, but it's, some people are trying this and it's working. Some people are trying this, it's not. And, we have to keep trying things. How do you view the do something as a member of Congress for your own communications and district?
It's a totally fair sentiment. I get it. Emotions aren't always rational, and these are really difficult times, and people are losing their livelihoods and family. It's devastating for a lot of people. The do something, I want to too. And I hear from constituents who want me to do more as if I have the opportunity to do more and I'm actively choosing not to. That's not what's happening. I can't, again, in the minority, do anything without 3 of my Republican colleagues signing on to that idea. And so that's the constraint I'm in. It's also why, and we're on a political podcast, so I'm going to talk about it, I've been working over the last month and a half on a project called We Just Need 3, which is all about the thousands of people who've called our office. Thank you. But my Republican colleagues are not getting those same phone calls, or certainly weren't in the time frame you talked about. And they need to hear from their constituents too. And this is the real kind of difficult grassroots organizing that you and I love to do, but is hard to do. My constituents should not you should not call people in Congress who do not represent you. Number one, they're not going to listen to you. They care about the 750,000-ish people they represent. But I guarantee you, somebody, a family, a friend, somebody you went to college with, who lives in a district that is represented, a district that doesn't look like mine, a district that's represented by somebody who doesn't vote like me. Ask those folks to engage. I also have some weird ethics rules in the House where I'm not allowed to do what's called grassroots lobbying. But I really want to communicate to folks that the most important thing we can do is have those difficult conversations with our friends and family. Listen, my parents are Trump supporters. Thanksgiving is rough, okay? Easter is going to be rough. But it's those conversations and trying to sincerely hear someone else's point of view. I saw a really good, speaking of social media, having a benefit, a really good just tweet about trying to tell people they're wrong, doesn't normally work out in any aspect of the life, but particularly not in politics. It's okay for people to admit that they were lied to, though. So moving into an empathy space of I get this is why you voted for him and you thought you were going to get X. Here's what's actually happening. And here's how it's actually impacting your district, your loved ones, your community. Having those hard conversations because we are incapable, we're not supposed to talk about politics and religion anymore. This is how we got here. Yeah. We don't know how to talk to each other about sincere policy differences or political differences. And it's to the detriment. And it's also probably why we lost, Joe. Because we are in bubbles. We are in our own silos and not trying to sincerely hear someone else's point of view, agree or disagree. like, I still need to win your vote.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try.
Well, so the Congresswoman cannot do grassroots organizing, but we can at the Democratic Party. And I promise you, we will keep you up to date on the special projects that are coming out from some of our federal leaders to make sure that we can get those 3 votes in the House. And as Chair Ken Martin said, we were 7,000 votes away from a Speaker Jeffries. We can win in 26. There's a lot of work to do, and we're going to keep doing that work. But stick around. We're going to play a quick game with the Congresswoman about how well do you know 435 members of Congress. Stick around. Welcome back. We are going to play a quick game with the Congresswoman, quite possibly the stupidest game I came up with. And I'm sure it's going to be great in this audio medium. So definitely check it out on YouTube as well. There are 435 members in the House of Representatives. My guess is that you will not be able to tell the difference between who's actually a member and who is an AI-generated member that I came up with using ChatGPT.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you 6 pictures.
Okay.
You tell us, is this a real member or is this an AI-generated one?
Okay.
And so here's the first one. I'm going to show it to the camera.
Okay.
Real member or AI-generated?
Real member, and I think it's Marcy Kaptur.
100% so far. Next one. Real member or AI-generated?
AI.
You sure?
Yes.
AI-generated. 2 for 2. Next one. Real member or AI-generated?
Looks like what people might think a member of Congress looks like, but I think it's AI.
It is AI. Okay. It is literally a mashup of most of the members in the Republican side. And for those who can't tell, this is the most generic looking white guy, which a lot of the Republican Party is. Next one. Is this a retired funeral director for a discount home, or is this a member of Congress?
It's a member of Congress, but not on my side of the aisle.
No, this is the guy who also ripped the piece of paper out of the hands
of Melanie.
Melanie, who I cannot call Melanie, but you did, so I did, during the State of the Union. Yeah. So real peach.
Yeah.
Next one, member of Congress or AI generated?
That is Jim McGovern.
That is. I will tell you, he has been on fire. He's been on fire for a long time, but last couple of weeks, he's been doing some floor leader and just crushing.
Well, yeah, he chairs our rules committee, and so I was in front of him 2 weeks ago, and he's awesome.
Well, I will say he is on C-SPAN quite a bit, so hop to the floor, sit behind him a couple times, and maybe pull on your ear, and we'll know she's saying hi to the fans and burn the talking points. And last one, is this a AI generated or member of Congress from California? Oops.
That is not a member of Congress from California.
Dang, I was trying to trick you. That is also AI generated. I knew that Congresswoman Elfreth, one of the hardest workers in both Maryland politics and federal politics, would know all 435 of her members already, but very impressive. So before we go, I want to give Congresswoman Elfreth just a chance to talk about what she's been working on, because I know you have a ton going on. So Congresswoman Elfreth, keep us up to date. What is happening? What do you need from folks?
So super important for folks watching at home. I am prohibited from campaigning or engaging in political activity from my official congressional side of things, including social media. So if you don't see me talking about campaigns and elections on there, it's not because I don't care. It's because I will get in a lot of trouble. So follow my campaign, which is Sarah for Maryland, Sarah for Congress.
We'll drop it in the show notes.
Super easy to find. But listen, I am already engaged. I've already asked if I could adopt 2 swing districts. You know me. Swing districts in 26. I can make sure our super volunteers from Maryland are up in Pennsylvania and Virginia, working really hard. Folks, we are not far from a majority, and it's, as you said, super close, and we need to continue to engage. And I just ask folks to stay passionate, keep participating. It is, I think it's March right now. It is a long slog until November of 2026, but we need you, because I knock a lot of doors, Joe knocks a lot of doors. We can't do it alone. And so when we engage and send buses up to these swing districts, I need your help, and I hope I can count on you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Congresswoman Elfreth. Folks, you heard her. We're about 7,000 votes in 3 districts away from being in the majority in 2026. So make sure you follow her on social media. Stay engaged with what she's got going on. There's a lot of great stuff. And the Democratic Party here in Maryland will make sure we keep pushing that out as well. So thanks for joining this episode of Burn the Talking Points. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you.